far-right grifter Milo Yiannopoulos has decided that he is done with nobody paying attention to him. He's fed up. He's had it. It's time somebody gives him attention once again that he so desperately craves. So what he is doing now, in what is, I think, really obviously a publicity stunt, is he is coming out of the closet as straight.
Okay.
Milo Yiannopoulos is claiming that he is an ex-gay. He's renouncing his homosexuality after he literally married a man and is now saying, look, guys, I'll pretend to be straight if that's going to get me attention from the religious right. Okay, so as Bill Browning of LGBTQ Nation writes, right-wing gadfly and troll Milo Yiannopoulos quickly fell out of the public eye after flaming out in a dramatic manner following comments that appeared to condone pedophilia. While he denied the allegations, the fallout was quick. He lost a book deal, financial backers, and speaking engagements as his former supporters in Trump land quickly canceled him. His social media accounts were shut down over his non-stop offensive trolling, and the conservative provocateur was left with no one to provoke. But like the GOP nationwide, Yiannopoulos is turning to the religious right for personal salvation, or is he simply trolling them too? Now he's done an interview with the religious right site LifeSite News, and while the outlet seems to take him at face value, the gadfly's typical exaggeration, outright lies, and over-the-top asides insinuate that he's trolling them too. He's now claiming that he's ex-gay. When I used to kid that I only became gay to torment my mother, I wasn't entirely joking, Yiannopoulos says. Of course, I was never wholly at home in the gay lifestyle. Who is, who could be, and only leaned heavily into it in public because it drove liberals crazy to see a handsome, charismatic, intelligent gay man riotously celebrating conservative principles. That's not to say I didn't throw myself enthusiastically into degeneracy of all kinds in my private life. I suppose I felt that's all I deserved. I'd love to say it was all an act, and I've been straight this whole time, but even I don't have that kind of commitment to performance art. Yiannopoulos describes himself as an action hero and claims his husband has been demoted to housemate. And while he may have been complaining about his finances online previously, in the interview he's suddenly fabulously wealthy again, or trolling them. It helps that I can still just about afford to keep him in Givenchy and a new Porsche every year. Could be worse for him, I guess. They say if you let one sin in, others will follow, and now I truly know what that means. As I've begun to resist sinful sexual urges, I've found myself drinking less, smoking less, you name it. I confess my weakness for designer shoes and handbags is yet to dissipate, Yiannopoulos added. Yiannopoulos has tried to make his life performance art, but is the religious right gullible enough to give him a second act? And the answer to that question is yes. Do we think that folks who subscribe to a religious book, which pretends that talking snakes are a real thing, wouldn't think that he's being serious here? Like, you have to be inherently gullible to subscribe to religion in the first place. So I think it's pretty obvious that they're going to run with this. And if they can, if he actually tries to prolong this grift, this ex-gay act that he's on, they're going to try to prop him up as an example that they can use as evidence that homosexuality is a choice, if they're still going on about that. But I think that that ship has sailed. They've lost the culture war with regard to that issue, and I think now they've kind of just moved on to attacking trans people. But whether or not I believe that Milo Yiannopoulos is serious about being ex-gay, I have two responses to that. The first is Sure, Jan. And the second is a quote from another far-right grifter, Candace Owens.
I don't believe this at all, just so you know.
So needless to say, he's very clearly full of shit. The things that he says here, no serious person would say. So he got married and he's demoted his husband to housemate, but he is still living with you and you're trying to keep him happy by buying him cars and things. That doesn't make sense. If you were truly committed to the ex-gay lifestyle, wouldn't you divorce your husband? Because being married to someone of the same sex is inherently sinful. I mean, wouldn't you fully commit? It's such a lazy grift at this point that I don't even know how committed he is to it. I think it'll depend, how much attention he receives from this, that will determine how much he really dives in and goes all in on this thing. But honestly, I thought that Dave Rubin would be the one that would do this first. do this ex-gay grift first, but of course it's Milo Yiannopoulos, because I think that he's even more craven than Dave Rubin in terms of like gay conservatives who really want attention. But for him to say, look, since I've stopped sinning and presumably like being intimate with my husband, I've stopped smoking and drinking, but yet, of course, I still have a weakness for designer shoes and handbags. Okay, totally straight. So like he very clearly is homosexual. He's embraced his inner fabulousness to an extent that, it was great as like a little shtick. I'm the gay MAGA guy. Haha, look at me. But that kind of is boring. It's tired now. Like the MAGA crowd has moved on. You're no longer amusing to them. They've disregarded you. They've canceled you. So now he's trying to find some way to get back in their good graces. And now he is, he's resorting to this. Again, I don't know, like, if he's really going to commit to this new grift, but if he is, it could be lucrative. It could be lucrative. But something tells me like he's just like talking shit, like he's not actually committed. Either way, it doesn't matter. But I think that this really, it's important because it speaks to just how desperate right-wingers are. Like, he was a very visible Trump supporter, and what was he known for? Was he known for like any particular policy? Nothing. He was known for being like that really loud and obnoxious dude, and he didn't like talk about policies. He didn't try to promote any sort of political ideas. He just like tried to be overly offensive and get as much attention as possible. But Milo Yiannopoulos isn't that different than other conservatives. Like, if you look to even Ben Shapiro, who's supposed to be the cool kid's philosopher, who's supposed to actually be like a conservative intellectual, when does he actually ever talk about policies? When does he actually talk about the things that he advocates for? Like, most of the time, it's outraged because of some pop culture issue. Cardi B made a song called WAP that was offensive to him, or like Cartoon Network is showing anti-racist cartoons to children. Like, this is all surface level culture war bullshit. Like, they have nothing. These are vapid individuals. They have no substance whatsoever. Tune in to Dave Rubin for like 10 minutes and you will lose so many brain cells. They don't care about anything. It's all about self-aggrandizement. So, like, this is just some insight. Like, maybe not as brazen, like the others aren't as brazen as Milo Yiannopoulos, but it's very clear that right-wing political commentators, they don't actually stand for anything. They don't care for anything unless it's lazy, surface-level culture war issues. And that's it. But really what they crave is attention. They don't have really strong beliefs about politics. Like, to them, they just want to make money, and they will say and do whatever gets them to that goal of making more money. Whereas on the left, we actually care about political issues. We actually talk about things like a living wage, Medicare for all, tackling climate change. We talk about science as it relates to COVID-19. Like, we actually have substance. But you see, if you're substantive, that's a little bit boring. But if you're a grifter, if you're outrageous, if you make ridiculous comments and say idiotic things, that gets you not only attention, but if you are like desperate enough, you could be propped up by the right, who will fund you, who likes you being a gay person, who they will use to drive hatred against other gay people. And as a gay person, let you attack trans people. Or if you're a black person, they'll make you attack black people and say bad things about Black Lives Matter. Like, this is what conservatives have been doing. And unfortunately, there's enough useful idiots like Milo Yiannopoulos and Dave Rubin to where this grift is incredibly lucrative. And folks like Milo Yiannopoulos, like, he kind of like takes the mask off of this entire right-wing grift. So I find this absolutely hilarious. I don't think this is going to last long because being ex-gay is not a thing. Like, you can't just like choose to change your sexuality like that. Not possible. So we'll just see like how far he goes down this rabbit hole, how much he's willing to commit. Again, I think it's going to entirely hinge on like how lucrative this grift is. But if it does make him a lot of money and give him a lot of attention, then he'll go all in. But if not, he'll abandon this like the minute he finds something else that might actually get him more money and more attention.
Ideas. Ideas. recovery mode, my brain ideas. In recovery mode, my brain ideas.